Hello and welcome to In the Roud. Greetings and salutations, dear listeners. This is In the Roud, a folk song podcast, and I'm your host, Matt Quinn. Join me as we travel through the world of traditional folk song, one song per episode in the order they appear in the Roud Index. Each episode will feature two guests, one providing an historical look at the song, while the other will be a singer from the folk music scene to talk about their own version of the song. This podcast is proud to be partly sponsored by the Traditional Song Forum. Meeting regularly, both in person and online, the TSF provides a place for a variety of topics related to folk song, song collectors, singers, and many other aspects of folk song research to be presented and discussed. It's free to join, and most meetings are free to attend. So, discover more about the TSF at www.tradsong.org. That's www.tradsong.org. So let's get going. This week's song is Roud 52, that's Child Ballad number 81, Little Musgrave and Lady Barnard. Later on, we'll hear from our singer guest Frankie Armstrong, but for now, let's have a look at the song's history with returning historical contributor David Atkinson. Well, hello and welcome back to In the Roud, David Atkinson. Hello.
Hello. Good to be back.
Hi, nice to have you back. How are you? How's things?
Yeah, not too bad. Bit gloomy here today, but otherwise all is well.
Yes. I don't know what the weather's like the day this episode goes out. We're recording this well in advance. It is currently the 8th of January, and so there's a storm brewing, apparently. I have just filled my fridge, ready for 2 or 3 days of hibernation. But the problem with a work from home job is that I can do it even if I'm housebound, which is, my fault, really, for choosing this job, I suppose. But yes, how are you? How's things?
Yeah. I'm glad to be over Christmas and New Year and everything.
Indeed. Yes, it's always it can be a very nice time. It can be slightly depressing as well, but we're not here to discuss that. Well, let's just dive straight in then. We're here today talking about Roud 52, Child 81, Little Musgrave. So, as always, start us off. Give us a sort of plot synopsis of Little Musgrave. What's the song about?
Okay, well, let's follow the story as it's given in the earliest version. It's a holiday, a holy day, like a bank holiday kind of thing. Little Musgrave goes to church and he sees fair ladies there, and one of whom is Lady Barnard, who cast a look upon Little Musgrave, and he evidently took her fancy, and she basically invites her to go back to her bower for nefarious purposes. But then they think, what shall we do about the little foot page who will know what's going on? So they decide to bribe the little foot page to keep quiet. However, he refuses the bribe, and this is the little foot page, and he sets off and runs off to report on matters to Lord Barnard, who doesn't immediately believe him, but is persuaded, and gathers his men together and saddles up his horses, and they come charging back to where Musgrave and Barnard and Lady Barnard are. One of Lord Barnard's men blows his horn to try and warn Musgrave. But Lady Barnard says, lie still, little Musgrave, and keep my back from the cold. And it's just a sheep and cold noise and so forth. And basically, they go back to sleep. And when they wake up again, there's Lord Barnard standing at the foot of the bed, and he tells little Musgrave to get up and put his clothes on, because it shall never be said in fair England that I slew a naked man. He has two good swords, gives Musgrave the choice of them, best of them thyself shall have, and I the worst will take. And so it's kind of like a duel, I suppose. And Musgrave strikes Lord Barnard, wounds him, and the next blow, Lord Barnard strikes Musgrave, kills him, and then he takes his lady by the hand and runs her through with the sword. And then he says, prepare a grave. A lady shall lie on top because she came of noble kin. And in this version, Lord Barnard then kills himself. So it's all a bit of a three-way tragedy.
Oh, it all ends. It ends with everyone dead.
It ends with everyone dead.
Well, there we go. Lovely. And a song, yeah, well known to quite a lot of people under various titles. I think you and I were saying earlier that, Little Musgrave and Lady Barnard. But then America, you got Matty Groves and various variations on that theme as well. And a few Lord Daniels I noticed as well.
Yes, I mean, the names are fairly unstable, presumably because by the time it got to America, the original names didn't really mean very much. The Lord can be the Lord of more or less anywhere. I mean, as I say, it seems in the earliest version to have been Lord Barnard, which this is back in the 17th century, would have been a small settlement to the north of London, site of the Battle of Barnard during the Wars of the Roses, which, interesting, nobody's ever actually been able to pin down precisely where it took place, but it's somewhere up there.
Okay, right.
Now, of course, part of the London borough of Barnet, from where I'm speaking to you today.
Oh, there we go.
So there you go. But understandably, it becomes Barnard, or and some of the American ones, Ranald and so forth, that
Yeah.
number around. So I don't think we need to invest too much in.
No, probably not in the names. It's just I find it interesting sometimes that the different names we had. Can't remember what song it was. There was a song in the previous season, end of last year, where it was mostly the names you'd expect, William and Marjorie and all this sort of stuff, and suddenly Philip turned up out of nowhere in one version. And I thought, well, how did Philip get in there? You know, how did you get from William to Philip? But anyway, you know, these things are sent to puzzle us, I guess. But so how far back can we trace this then? What's the do we have a not necessarily an origin point? Do we have what's the earliest noted version of this song?
Well, we have an early broadside, which was printed for a printer called Henry Gosson. Now, there's an entry in the stationer's register from 1630, but that's registered to a different printer, Francis Coles. Now, the Gosson version is almost certainly earlier than that date because there's an allusion to the play. Uh, there's an allusion to the ballad in actually several early 17th century plays, but particularly in the Beaumont and Fletcher play, The Night of the Burning Pestle, which includes a lot of snippets of song, including ballads and what we might think of as folk songs and so forth. And there's a clear reference to this ballad. The lines are, as it fell out on a high holiday, as many there be in the year, when young men and maids together do go their masses and matins to hear. And that play is the consensus dates it to about 1607.
Oh wow, okay.
We're looking at within the first 10 to 15 years of the 17th century. And that fits with the dates for the printer Henry Gossam, who has quite a wide range. I think the authorities tend to give 1607 to about 1641. So it looks as if it's early in his career, but the evidence does all come together. I mean, it's never definitive, but it looks to be as early as, say, around 1610-ish. Now, that's quite important because I should say that broadside is printed by Child, but he gives it as his C version. I think mainly because he wasn't that keen on printed broadsides.
Right, okay.
It's relegated a bit, so it gives a slightly misleading impression. But also, Child did not know about a Scottish manuscript from 1630 with the title Little Musgrave. And this only came to light, about the 1970s, I think, which is, it's the same story, but it's in very consciously Scots language. It begins a bank, a bray, a bank, dune o'er yon bray, where 24 pretty days were playing at the bay, playing at ball, and so forth. And this seems to be from a manuscript book of probably some kind of minstrel or a musician. It doesn't have music with it, just words. But that is significant, I think, because in England, say it's printed 1610-ish, and then there's a strong record of printed broadsides through the 17th and 18th century, and it turns up in sort of anthologies like Percy's Relics and so forth. There's no after that manuscript of around about 1630, there's no record of it in Scotland until it's collected by people like Motherwell right at the beginning of the 19th century. But it's virtually never been collected in England.
Yeah, that's what I'd noticed that when I was going through the Roud Index. It's certainly been printed in England, but not on the sort of oral tradition side of the.
There's a version which is in the Additions and Corrections Child in Volume 4, which gives the letter O, which is a version taken down in 1891 in Liverpool by somebody called John Sampson from an old tinker called Philip Murray, about whom we don't know anything. And that's going on the Roud Index, that's the only thing that was ever collected from. And then Cecil Sharp collected a somewhat fragmentary version from somebody called Agnes Collins in London. Oh, and I haven't written down the date, but that's That's early 20th century. And again, the only things collected from her are this ballad and a street cry. She may well have been a street seller and singer of her wares.
Right.
Now, there are quite a few, I mean, Child prints quite a few Scottish versions from around the early part of the 19th century.
Yeah, there's 15, I think, versions in Child's collection, isn't there?
Yeah, something like that. There's several from Motherwell's collecting. There's a Peter Buchan one, which goes on forever, 48 stanzas. Um, there's a tiny fragment from a lady called Margaret Reburn, heard in Ireland about 1860. And then in Scotland, James Madison Carpenter collected 4 versions, 2 of them a bit fragmentary, 2 of them fairly complete, including one from his star informant, Belle Duncan. And that would have been in the early 1930s. But then it doesn't turn up in the Greg Duncan collection. I should have said it does. It is found in the Glen Bucket manuscript, which again is yeah, it's early now, but again, that's an early 19th century one. That's where the title given is Musgrave, which is
Okay.
a sort of variation on the Musgrave kind of thing. But it was never collected by Greg and Duncan, who was a great northeast Scottish collectors in the 1910s, and it exists in several recordings by the great traditional Scots singer Jeannie Robertson, but she learned it from an American version. It wasn't traditional in the sense of being handed down in her family or anything. So it seems to sort of die out, or perhaps I should say emigrate, because there are loads of versions from North America.
Yes, I was going through the Roud Index looking at that stuff, and I've got a copy of a book that has the Belle Duncan version in it. Belle Duncan, yeah, could very well a wax cylinder of it could very well be in the James Madison Carpenter collection, but we don't know exactly. But
Well, I could probably find out. I mean, I think
well,
there will be, but it'll only be
it'll be a
3 or
fragment.
4 stanzas at the most, I would think, and the quality is going to be very poor.
Indeed.
What's interesting to add to that is that the English broadsides all begin with variations of it as it fell on a high holiday, as many more in the year, that kind of thing. And there's a tendency to think that that is the English version and that the Scots versions start with the ladies playing at ball, which quite a lot of them do, as ladies in Scots ballads have a great tendency to play at ball when they've got nothing better to do. But the Belle Duncan one and another one collected by Carpenter also begin on it fell on a holy day one. So I don't think we can actually say that there is that clear distinction in the 2 traditions. And indeed, Belle Duncan's version is that's very much in Scots language, is really very similar in outline to the early English broadside. It's quite consistent in that sense.
Right. Sure, yeah. I was just checking the index for something and I found that entry for 1630, the Company of Stationers Register. 24th of June, 1630 is the reference for that one. But yeah, it's interesting that yeah, as I said, we've got it's quite a highly sort of collected song in the index. The Roud index has 397 entries, give or take, duplicates and triplicates and things of the same versions. But if you pare that down, 383 entries in the folk song index, and then only 14 entries in the broadside index, three of which are separate company of stationers registers: 1630, 1656, and 1675. So, it's
Yes, those are simply reasserting what we would call copyright
yeah, exactly.
among the printers who owned it. But individually, there's more than a dozen different editions in broadside or chapbook format going through towards the end of the 18th century. So
Right, okay.
it basically it remained in print for the better part of 2 centuries.
Yes,
Which
and some broadsides it's titled "A Lamentable Ballad of Little Musgrave and the Lady Barnard."
oh yes. Well, that's actually pretty consistent right from the beginning. That.
Yeah, and remarkably short for a broadside title. Unless there is an extra long one somewhere hiding.
No, I'm just looking at the earliest one. Yes, it is quite so short. And in fact, it says the lamentable ditty of Little Musgrave and the Lady Barnard to an excellent tune.
Ah, of
That
course.
tells us everything we need to know about the tune.
Yeah, apparently there was only one excellent tune. They said to that excellent tune. Um, but yeah, but then if you go, yeah, that's the broadside index. The folk song index, you have, yeah, 383. But that's not just audio. Obviously, it's like printings in books and manuscripts and journals and broadsides, and 9 broadsides in the other as well. So a couple of theses. Is that the plural of thesis? Theses.
That'll do.
That'll do. Uh, and so, like, yeah, sound recordings, for example, 106 sound recordings, 6 of which are from Scotland, and they're all Jeannie Robertson, who got it from an American person.
Yeah.
So it's an American version, even though this is why, don't just trust your eyes, do the research, find everything out for yourself. But then the rest of it is 88 entries for America, plus the 6 from Scotland, technically, and then 11 entries for Canada. I noted these down, and they're all the east coast of Canada as well. I mean, this is just the sound recording entries for Canada. Or do they just write down 7 from Nova Scotia, 1 from New Brunswick, 1 from Newfoundland, and 2 from Quebec. So it's very much, even in Canada, it's very east coast.
Yes, I think Bronson notes that it's right up the east coast of North America. That, of course, reflects to a certain extent the patterns of folk song collecting in the States.
Yes,
especially
indeed.
at the time that Bronson was putting out his volume.
Indeed. And then 88 entries for America, and it's a long list, but I'm seeing, Kentucky, Virginia, Missouri, Maine, North Carolina, Tennessee, West Virginia again. Any other names? Missouri again, North Carolina, California, so North California ones, Arkansas. There we go. Yeah, New Hampshire.
So there are a few elsewhere. Yeah,
a couple of Vermont entries as well. Yeah, it's quite a lot. I mean, a lot of them are in things like the Helen Hartness Flanders collection, so I haven't got access to that unless you go to the Middlebury College in Vermont and things. But there's a few out on CDs. We'll come to them later on. On the Folk Song Index, if you look by England, 3 entries, and those are what you just said. The Child Volume 4 additions and corrections, a Sharp collected one, Agnes Collins, and two from Agnes Collins, in fact, 2 entries for that one.
Yeah, so, it's the same one.
It's the same one, of course. Yeah.
Places.
Yeah, interesting stuff. And then in Child, as we said, there's 15 versions, A to N, um, all from a lot of Motherwell. You said, didn't you, just now?
there's quite a few from Motherwell.
But version A,
His version A is it's
1658
base
from something called Wit Restored.
yeah, I mean that it's basically a version of the early broadside, though it's somewhat rewritten. And the sources that he uses for his version A, Wit Restored and Wit and Drollery, they're sort of compilations of cavalier songs and poetry from the middle to the end of the 17th century. And they're slightly sophisticated writers mostly contributed those. So
Okay.
I think probably somebody's had a bit of a hand in it, but it's essentially the same thing.
Right, yeah. 'Cause in that one got Little Musgrave and Lady Lord Barnard. Um, and yeah, mention of Bucklesford Berry, which is I think a lot of people know the version that Martin Carthy used to sing mentioned Bucklesford Berry, so maybe he got that from
Yes,
one of
probably.
these.
I don't.
Just sounds like oh what's the place name with the bridge? This in Lord of the Rings. This might not be anything to you. Um, the Brandywine River, and the next bridge is at Buckleberry Ferry. That's what it's called. And so there's Lord of the Rings at Buckle, and I always just see Bucklesford Berry and read it as Buckleberry Ferry, which is from Lord of the Rings.
All right, that's interesting. I wonder if Tolkien got it from the ballad.
Well, he's certainly a lot
Not
of
impossible.
not impossible. There's a lot of Celtic things in Lord of the Rings, so a lot of sort of inspirations from various places, but you never know. But yeah, we can't say anything more than that, but it always amuses me.
No, it sounds like a bit of a made up name.
Yes, but yeah, version A has 29 verses, not inconsiderable.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty good. The C version, the early broadside has 34, of
Oh,
which the last one is one of these rather typical broadside stanzas that
oh,
sort
it's
of
a moral. It's a
draws a
moral.
moral from the story.
Oh
This
yes,
sad
because
message.
the penultimate verse is the plot ending. Then
Yeah,
suddenly he slew himself, which grieves his friends full sore. The deaths of these three worthy wights, with tears they did deplore. And then you get this
and you get
sad,
the moral.
the moral. This sad mischance by lust was wrought. Then let us call for grace, that we may shun this wicked vice and mend our lives apace. And let that
And
be a lesson to you.
well, that be a lesson to you. But in this particular ballad, it's slightly more resonant than these sort of concluding morals sometimes are, because one of the things that you notice if you look at a load of different versions is just how um, who sort of initiates the action. Does Musgrave go to church to view fair ladies, which I think he does in the Fairport Convention version?
Oh yes.
Or does he go along minding his own business and Lady Barnard takes a fancy to him? And then the, when Lord Barnard comes back home and finds them in bed, in some of the versions, Musgrave and Lady Barnard are very defiant and almost sort of taunting Lord Barnard with their adultery, but in others he seems, well, I mean, obviously he isn't magnanimous because he kills them, but it's more in grief than in anger kind of thing. I mean, it's difficult to say just from looking at the text, and obviously anybody singing it can have, to some extent, their own um, interpretation, where their own sympathies lie.
Indeed, because that version C in Child starts with, "As it fell on a light holy day, as many more does in the year, little Musgrave would to the church and pray to see the fair ladies there." So that's
Yeah, so
clearly,
it's having his cake and eating it a bit there, isn't it? He's
yeah,
it's
uh,
being devout, but he's also casting his eyes around.
yes, that's quite true, actually. Yeah, yeah. Gallants there were of good degree, for beauty exceeding fair, most wondrous lovely to the eye, that did to the church repair. So yes, many beautiful ladies in the church. And then, but two verses later, Lady Barnard, she cast a look upon little Musgrave as bright as the summer's sun. Full well perceived then little Musgrave Lady Barnard's love he had won. So just by being himself, his handsomeness, she's fallen in love with him straight away.
Yes, and I mean, you can, if you want to, you can sort of read an unhappy marriage, perhaps a sort of aristocratic arranged marriage, and no love between Lady Barnet and Lord Barnet. But the ballad doesn't really say that. It kind of leaves that open.
Indeed, but I think with there's I mean you can look at in that way, I suppose, with lords and ladies. There's a certain thing. I remember John Bowden bringing this up back when we did Raggle Taggle Gypsies, Roud #1. The idea of maybe it's an arranged marriage, and that's why she's so keen to run away from even from the children she's born, let alone the husband and the house and the feather beds and everything. Um, and so maybe, yeah, lords and ladies, that was a thing. The families sort of getting married off to each other. This is because I have just a couple of days ago from the recording. Hey, I mentioned a film already. I've just finished watching Martin Scorsese's film adaptation of the novel The Age of Innocence, and there's the whole thing in that is about families marrying off to each other purely to preserve the chain of money, so the money stays in hand. It stays within the same families rather than moving elsewhere. So yeah, I think there's a whole
Yeah,
thing to yeah.
that's from the American Golden Age, isn't it? Edith
That's
Wharton.
right. Yeah.
And I mean, in early modern England, early modern Britain, um, there certainly was economic interest in marriages, and the further you go up the social scale, the more important that becomes. But it doesn't necessarily preclude romantic
No,
attraction
no, not at all.
or
Yeah.
the idea of, I mean, arranged marriages can work very well, and people come to sort of enjoy the companionship and develop an affection for each other, even if they don't initially fall in love in a modern romantic fashion. So
Indeed, there are
uh,
instances of that too. So.
it's yeah, so it's quite hard to tell, and again, in some of the versions of the ballad, Lord Barnet seems extremely vengeful. In others, he can be seen as being sort of quite dignified in the circumstances. I mean, and it sounds a bit crass, but I mean, telling Musgrave to get out of bed and put his clothes on before he runs him through with his sword, I suppose that's something.
Yeah, so there's honor even within things,
Yes, yeah.
which is a
And
very yeah.
you can see it as a ballad about different senses of loyalty, if you like, because loyalty between husband and wife, the loyalty between lovers, and of course the whole interlude with the little foot page
Oh yeah, of course.
is in again some versions seems uh, more loyal. Well, he is more loyal to his master, Lord Barnet, but in some versions he seems to be slightly more amenable to being persuaded to keep quiet, though he doesn't. And then we've got this other unnamed person from Lord Barnard's retinue who's loyal to Musgrave and tries to warn him by blowing his horn. And fortunately, the lovers just turn over and go back to sleep.
Yeah.
So there are, there's quite a lot in what, in some ways, is a pretty straightforward story of adultery and revenge.
Absolutely. There's a nice mention of cowslips in the version C as well. I was scanning through the other versions in Child to see if other flowers are mentioned, but I don't think so. It's late little Musgrave saying, you should come meet me at my bower and we'll have a lovely time. And in version C, I have a bower in Merry Barnet bestowed with cowslip sweet. Oh, it's the other way around. Sorry, it's Lady Barnet saying, trying to get little Musgrave to come back with her. I have a bower in Merry Barnet bestowed with cowslip sweet. If that it please you, little Musgrave, in love me there to meet.
And all our bowers here in Barnet are bestrode with cowslips.
Oh yes, of course.
How we live in this part of North London.
Because I was looking at all the other versions, and it never doesn't seem to mention flowers. If you do get that verse, it tends to be. Whereas I have version A. I have a bower at Bucklesford Berry. Oh, I said Bucklesford.
Yeah, Bucklesford Berry.
Buckleberry Ferry. I have a bower at Bucklesford Berry, full dainty. It is date. Is that date? Deight.
Well, dite, because it's going to rhyme with night on the fourth line.
Full daintily, it is dite. Yeah, that's right. And a lot of versions in Child seem to have skipped a lot of stuff and end up with the foot page quite early on. But when you do have version E from the Campbell manuscript, I have a hall in Mulberry. It stands both strong and tight. If you will go to there with me, I'll lie with you all night.
That means very
much. Version F from Jameson's Popular Ballads and Songs. I have a tower in Dalisbury, which now is clearly dight, and I will give it to young Musgrave to lodge with me all night. No mention of more flowers though. I was hoping there'd be like loads of different flowers for the different versions.
Sadly not.
Shame. Not that it really matters, I suppose. It's just quite amusing that one mentions cowslips, and to be fair, cowslips are very nice.
Yeah, indeed.
Although, yeah, normally found, using Wikipedia, normally found in meadows and on woodland floors. So I wonder,
Well, I presume she's picked them and to make her room smell sweet.
You're very correct.
Back in those days, people probably didn't smell as sweet as they might have done.
No, and so yes, you'd hang flowers all over the house.
Yeah, I think you probably would,
unless you were warding off vampires, in which case it'd be garlic instead. But
no, that's true.
Cowslips,
vampires are a later out there.
Indeed. Possibly. Although we spoke about this quite a lot on the final episode of last season with the ballad "Sweet William's Ghost." Both Sandra Kerr and Holly Clark, all three of us, had conversations about whether William was a ghost or a vampire. And I quite like the idea that he's a vampire. So much of the iconography kind of fitted with vampire folklore and mythology that.
That's the folk Gothic for you.
Exactly. But so those are the versions in Child, or some of them. There's 15 of them. If you want to go, listeners, you want to go through them, you're more than welcome to. All 15 of them. But I've got tune for melodies. I've got access to some because I've got a copy of the Everyman's Book of British Ballads, edited by Roy Palmer. and that includes in it the Bell Duncan one. And so it fell upon a holiday, as many have been before, oh, when little Musgrave went to the church to view the ladies there, oh. And I'll attempt to sing this. It appears to be in the key of D. It fell upon a holiday, as many have been before. Oh, when little Musgrave went to the church to view the ladies there, oh. Which sounds very American to me, that melody. But there we go.
Yeah.
And we've got, how many verses there? Oh, many pages. 26 verses. Oh, and the names in this one, little Musgrave in this one, and Lord and Lady Berkeley.
Yeah.
But as you said, the names don't mean much, but I always find it quite interesting. And then Bronson, significant number of tunes in Bronson. I wrote the number down somewhere. 74. 74 melodies in Bronson. That's almost at Lord Bateman level. Lord Bateman had an equally high number of melodies in Bronson as well. But then, as I think you and I were discussing before we started, most of the melodies in Bronson are almost the same, because Bronson always put things into tune categories, A, B, tune A type, tune B, tune C, etc. And out of the 74 that he's got, tune variations 1 to 58 are all Group A. But they are then split up into subsections: Group A, Group AB, AC, AD, etc. All the way to AJ, with tune 58 being an AJ. And then Group B has tunes 59 to 70, and there are 4 separate appendixes for 4 separate tunes. Tune 71 is in Appendix A, 72 is in Appendix B, and so on. Well, I did sight sing a couple of these earlier. I'll just give some examples. A couple of ones from Group A. Tune number 2, so it's in Group A. Little Matty. Oh, no. Little Martha Grove, 1950, sung by Stanley Williams from... Where's that from? Austria Lake. Which state is NS? Was it Nova Scotia?
That'd be Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia, okay. Sung by Stanley Williams from Nova Scotia. We've got Martha Grove and Lord and Lady Arnold in that one. But, Barnard, Arnold,
that's quite an easy.
And Lord Arnold's gone to St. James's Castle. King Henry for to see. And that's got a total of 27 verses. How's the first verse go? It was a day and a high old day, the very best day in the year, when little Martha Grove went to the church, some holy words for to hear, some holy words for to hear. So it's a bit modal, almost pentatonic until you get to the penultimate bar, when you suddenly get the 7th of the scale, because most of it's bum bum ba bum ba da bum ba dum da dum da 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 dun da 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 dum da dum da dum da dun da dum da dun da da da, and suddenly you hit with the sharpened 7th at the end of the scale, end of the line. Oh, some came there in velvet green, and others came there in pearl, and among them was Lord Arnold's wife, the fairest of them all. Some nice bits in that. I did notice something. You don't get the word jogging very often. He put his horn unto his mouth as much as for to say, who's ever in bed with another man's wife, it's time to be jogging away.
Certainly is.
um, and yeah, little Martha Grove, he heard the. Oh, yeah, Martha, but Matha. It can't be Martha to feel my name, but was that be
Mather, I suppose. Like
Martha
that.
Groves? Yeah. Jumped out of bed, he says, by the sound of that horn, it is Lord Arnold's horn. Come back, little Mather Grove, and keep me from the cold. It is only Lord Arnold's shepherd boy a calling his sheep to the fold. And there they tossed and tumbled till they fell fast asleep. They never knew no more until Lord Arnold stood at their feet, etc. And that's verse 19 of 27. So, and it ends them dying, but it ends with Lord Arnold doesn't die, but he dies the next day. The song ends saying, "Now loud, loud sings the nightingale. Now loud, loud sings the sparrow. Lord Arnold killed his fair lady, and he'll be hung tomorrow."
Ah, well, that's interesting. Gets justice for having exacted his revenge. I mean, it's true that Lord Barnard kills himself in the early broadside, but that's not true in all versions by any means.
No, so in this one he gets hanged instead. That's version 2 in Bronson, if anyone wants to delve into that one. I had noted down version 17 to take a look at next. Still in Group A, but it's A something else. One of the letters. Version 17, Little Musgrave and Lady Barnard. Sharp manuscript, also in Sharp and Carpelese, 1938. Sung by T. Jeff Stockton of Hogskin Creed, Flag Pond, Tennessee. September the 4th, 1916. It's holly, holly, holiday, the very first day in the year. Little Matty Groves went to the church, the holy word to hear, the holy word to hear. So that's kind of, yeah, modal, minory, modally thing. Only 2 verses given for that, though. And that's probably the version, then, that is in another book I have, the Sharp and Carpelese 80 English Folk Songs, which is a selection of the songs from their larger Southern Appalachians book. I'm pretty sure it is. I've accidentally come across the same one, number 18 in the book. T. Jeff Stockton verse. So yeah, T. Jeff Stockton provided Sharp and Carpelese with the first verse and a second verse, and I can't figure out. Oh, it must be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 6th verse or stanza, and the rest in the Sharp and Carpelese book is made up from other versions. If I am Lord Thomas's wife, Lord Thomas is not at home. He's gone away to his false tavern, his prentice for to see. I don't know how that fits in really, but there's that if anyone wants to ponder that. But that's bum ba da da dee ya da 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 dee ya da 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 dee ya da 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 dee ya da 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 dun dun da 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 dun dun ya da da. That's one of the same groups as the previous one. Scroll down to version 66. Nearly there, folks. 66. Lord Banner, Banna. Sung by Mrs. D. J. Libby, Canada, St. Stephen's, New Brunswick, March 1929. We have, and this starts with 24 gay ladies obeying at the ball rather than playing at the ball.
Oh yeah, that sounds like an elision.
Yes.
The word.
Lord Banner's lady, she was there, the gayest of them all, and young Margrue, Magrue, Magrue, and young Magrue from Scotland too, as bright as the rising sun. He looked at her, she winked at him, the likes was never known. And that's got a sort of jauntyish melody. Bum bum ba da da yaddle da da. So that would go something like 24 gay ladies obeying at the ball. Lord Banner's lady, she was there, the gayest of them all. And young Margrew of Scotland too, as bright as the rising sun. He looked at her, she winked at him, the like was never known. So that's almost got a kind of A or A-B-C-A melody. It certainly repeats the last line again. So, and that we've got a good hefty 14 verses there. Lord Banner. What if I am Lord Banner's wife? Sure, he is not at home. He has gone to fair England to take King Henry's throne. One of his foot pages standing near heard what had been said and done. He said, my master shall have the news before the rising sun. Then there's a whole verse about the journey. He ran till he came to the river's side, and he swam, jumped in and he swam, and swam till he came to the other side, and took to his heels and run, till he came to the cottage door, Lord Banner's cottage door. And that ends with version 13, verse 13. It's well I like your rosy cheeks and your dimpled chin. Far better I like young Magru than you or any of your kin. He caught her by the hair of the head. He split her brains in twain. He threw her on the floor where she never rose again. And then a half length verse to end. He put the hilt of his sword unto the floor. The point was to his breast. There never was three lovers so quickly sent to their rest. So he falls upon his sword in that one, just much like Japanese samurai. Falls upon his sword, but he split her brains in twain. That is charming.
Yeah, I like the hemispheres.
And then yes, indeed. And then number 72 I'd noted down as well, if I can find that one. Lord Daniel's wife. Yes, some of the American ones I noticed are called Lord Daniel as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a million miles from Barnard, and it's
Yeah,
conceivably a name that would sort of make sense to Americans who had not seen the other versions in print or whatever.
maybe. Yeah, this is a 1929 publication from Davis, but it's sung by Mrs. Nancy Kitts and Miss Rosa Tickle from Vancouver, November 30th, 1923. Collected by Alfreda M. Peel, noted by Daisy Wingford. A very, very simple melody, this one. Down came a lady, down came two, down came Lord Daniel's wife, and she was dressed in blue. You don't get blue very often. You tend to get dressed in white and red and brown. You don't get blue very often.
No, it sounded as if it needed it for the rhyme there.
Yes, exactly. Down came a lady, down came two, down came Lord Daniel's wife, and she was dressed in blue. She spied little Matthew by the light. I must invite you to lay with me tonight. It's extremely simplistic melody, that one.
Yes.
I will not, by my life, by the ring on your finger, you are Lord Daniel's wife. So he's resisting.
Yes, I mean you do. Some of them sort of seem to emphasise that his initial reluctance, and then at the end, I should have said this earlier. You get this in some versions. How do you like little Lord Barnard's saying to his wife, "How do you like little Musgrave? Now he lies dead at your feet or whatever," and she replies with that sort of defiant. I like his dead body more than all your kith and kin or your castles and land, whatever. So, and again, there's quite a bit of scope for the dynamics of it, really, between sort of pathos and defiance, really.
Yeah, it's indeed, yeah, interesting stuff. And then it's Lord Daniel. He's not at home. He's gone away to the little bonny brown cabin old Mackie for to see. Mackie, Mackie. Or Mackay, could be Scottish, but it's probably Mackie. And the page, I think all that stuff with the page. And then the last two verses: rise up, little Matthew. Ah, it's my name. Right, not that I should be pleased about that, really. And put on some clothes. It shall never be said of me that a naked man I slew. And then he took Mrs. Daniel by the hand and led her through the hall. He drew his sword, cut off her head, and threw it against the wall. That's a motif from Round 4. Lord Thomas and Fair Eleanor.
It is. Yes.
Does that turn up in other Little Musgrave variants, or is that an outlier, do you reckon?
I'm guessing it's fairly unusual. I don't think it's a standard sort of Musgravey thing.
No, it seems like it's just been... He drew his sword, cut off her head, and threw it against the wall, has been cut and pasted out of Lord Thomas and Fair Eleanor.
Does sound a bit like that, doesn't it?
And it's also quite quick in terms of he drew his sword, cut off her head, threw it against the wall, the end. As if it literally has just been tacked on.
Yeah. I think that is probably fairly unusual. One more point that's worth making: that a couple of the versions collected by Carpenter, when Lord Barnard or Lord Barnard has slain wife, it turns out that she was pregnant, and I haven't looked at every single version, but I don't think that really crops up anywhere else. But as I said, two of the Carpenter versions, there wasn't a pity for that twa lovers in the room where they lay deed. The pity was for the bonny baby that was weltering among the bleed, lying among the blood. And the other one: oh, how sorry was that good lord for all his angry mood when he beheld his young son lay weltering in the blood.
Right.
Which, and that must be Lord Barnard's son, because Musgrave and Lady Barnard haven't had time to make a baby. Or not recognisably.
No, indeed, yes. They've only been together one night.
Yeah. Which again sort of plays with the emotions of the whole business.
Indeed, if she's pregnant by Lord Barnard, then adds an extra dimension to it, I'm sure. Extra dimension not helped by the melody of version 73 in Bronson, I've just noticed. See if you recognise this. 'Twas a holy day, a high holiday, the best day of the year. Little Matthew Grove went to the church, the holy word to hear. It's Yankee Doodle Dandy.
It is, isn't it? Good. How inappropriate can you get?
Even Bronson has written underneath Yankee Doodle underneath it.
Oh.
It's just Yankee Doodle. That's just amused me. It doesn't help the mood particularly.
It certainly doesn't.
Sometimes these sort of sad ballads can have melodies in major keys, and it works.
Yeah.
But I don't think the tune for Yankee Doodle really suits, even if it's Lord Arnold's wife. 'Twas a holy day, a high holiday, the best day of the year. Little Matthew Grove, he went to church, the holy word to hear. There you go.
Well, you've made it fit, but
well, it fits because that's what it. Yeah. That's sung by Mrs. Della A. Quimby 1929, derived from her paternal grandmother. So take that back another sort of 60, 70 years,
Yeah,
from 1929, so 1850s.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Sweet last two verses. Let's sing this, and then we'll finish. Sweetly sings the nightingale, and sweetly plays the band. Lord Arnold has killed the handsomest man that ever trod England's land. Sweetly sings the nightingale, and sweetly sings the sparrow. Lord Arnold has killed his fair lady, and he will be hung tomorrow. So it's got that ending again with the justice rather than suicide.
yeah.
But it's Yankee Doodle Dandy. That's fantastic. Obviously, that's a what you might call a traditional American melody, but we know it as Yankee Doodle, but it's sort of it can be applied to a lot of things. Presumably, then we could apply the tune of Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious to this as well. Let's not try that.
No, no, let's not.
But it's like My Old Man's a Dustman, or while shepherds watch their flocks by night. Anything that's got a regimented 4/4 time signature, you can actually put to those melodies. Who cares? Let's just finish off, as usual, recommended listening. A lot of people would be familiar, I guess, with Jeannie Robertson. The recordings of her are available somewhere. Volume 4 of the Folk Songs of Britain LP series and CD series, consequently, put out by Topic, or by Cademan first and then Topic. Volumes 4 and 5 of that series are 2 volumes of child ballads. And yeah, it's
They're mostly fragmentary versions, aren't they?
Yes, I think so. I've not delved into them properly yet, but I can't even
Because
find...
they tried to put different singers' versions of the same ballad sort of onto LP records, so they could only do a few verses of each.
Yes. Oh, the Jeannie Robertson version is an extra track on the Rounder reissue series of that series.
Right, yes.
So it's on, because, the LP had 19 tracks, whereas the CD reissue's got 24 tracks. And there it is. Track 18 on the CD reissue, that's 24 tracks, is Jeannie Robertson singing it. But as we know, that's not a Scottish version, it's an American version. So there's that. And then there are some actual American singers to note that are out on some things. Brian Peters always brings up Dillard Chandler from North Carolina. Sang Matty Grove. There's a Folkways CD or anthology release called Old Love Songs and Ballads from the Big Laurel, North Carolina. Dillard Chandler. And I had some other names here somewhere. American woman Eunice Yates McAlexander, which I've mentioned a few times. She's from Patrick County in Virginia, and she had one called Little Massey Grove, Massie, and that's available on one of the musical traditions releases called Far in the Mountains Volume 1, which is from Mike Yates's Appalachian Collections.
And in Volume 3 of the same series, there's a version by Cas Wallin.
Oh, indeed so.
Southern Laurel, North Carolina.
Yeah, absolutely. And then,
of course, people of my generation, at any rate, will of course know it from Fairport Convention and also from Nick Jones, probably the sort of classic English revival versions.
That's right. There's plenty of them, and those two are very key ones. And there's another American singer. There's a recording of Mary Lozier from New South Portsmouth, Kentucky, but that's a 1997 recording on one of musical traditions anthologies called Meetings a Pleasure, volumes 1 and 2, Folk Songs of the Upper South. And I'll put links to all those in the episode notes. So, yes, I think, we'll leave things there. We probably could have waffled on a bit longer.
Can I add a footnote, which you may or may not want to use, but
sure.
the American indie rock band Vampire Weekend, on their album from 2010, have a song it's just called Holiday, and it begins a holiday, the first one of the year.
Oh,
And it's a song about sort of going on holiday. It's not the ballad at all, but clearly they've picked up those first two lines of Matty Grove somewhere or other. I've had a quick look on the internet. I can't find anybody's noticed that. I mean, there's loads of people with opinions about what the song's about, which are not of much interest. But that's
right.
kind of interesting. I mean, I can't definitely say it's because the traditional ballads are so widespread in America. They may well have picked it up in college or something like that. But anyway, that's just
That's
an
interesting.
oddity.
Yeah, it sounds a very oddity indeed. Well, thank you for that. And yeah, we'll leave things there. This has been, a big, hefty song to delve into. And we will delve into it further with Frankie Armstrong in the second half of this episode. And yeah, it's been lovely to have you back on. I know that we've got you on for this is your only appearance this season of the podcast, but we've got you on for one song in each of the 3 seasons happening this year. So we'll see you in a few months' time for whatever song it is in season 7. But until then, David Atkinson, thank you very much.
No, thank you.
A huge thanks again to David Atkinson for providing us with the history of Little Musgrave and Lady Barnard. At this point in the episode, we listened to some clips of traditional singers, just 4 this week, 3 from America and then 1 from Scotland. First, we're going to hear Little Massy Groves, sung by Eunice Yates McAlexander, and then Little Matty Groves, sung by Mary Lozier, then Lord Daniel, sung by Nimrod Workman, and then Little Musgrave and Lady Barnard, sung by Jeannie Robertson.
This song in this area was called Little Massy Grove. My holiday in the very first day in the year. Little Massy Grove to the church did go, the gospel for to hear, the gospel for to hear. The first one in was a lady there, and the next one was a girl. The next one was Lord Barnard's wife, the fairest of them all, the fairest of them all. Little Massy Grove was standing near, to him she cast an eye, saying, you must go home with me today, all night in my arms to lie, all night in my arms to lie. Oh, no, no, said Little Massy Grove, I dare not for my life, for I see by the ring that you wear on your hand that you are Lord Barnard's wife, that you are Lord Barnard's wife.
It was on a high holy day, the very best day of the year. Little Matty Grove, he went to church, some holy words for to hear. The first come down was dressed in red, the second was dressed in green, the third come down was Lord Daniel's wife, as fair as they were seen. Then Matty Grove said to one of his men, see the fair one dressed in white, although she is Lord Daniel's wife, I'll be with her tonight. Well, little foot page was a-standing by. He heard every word that was said. He said, Lord Daniel will hear of this before I go to bed.
Well, first come down was dressed in red. The next come down in green. Next come down Lord Daniel's wife. Fair as any queen. Fair as any queen. May I go home with you, little love, home with you tonight. I couldn't tell by the rings you wear, you're Lord Daniel's wife. You're Lord Daniel's wife. The little footpath was standing by. and he heard every word was said. If I don't die for the break of day, Lord Daniel will hear of that. Lord Daniel will hear of that. Well, he had about 16 miles to go. 8 of them he run till he came to the broken down bridge. Fell to his breast and he swam. Fell to his breast and he swam. Rattled at the door and she rung. Rattled at the door and it rung. Rattled at the door and it rung.
A holiday and a holiday, and the first one of the year. The people came down to the old churchyard, the gospel for to hear. The gospel for to hear. The first to come in was a lot of young ladies, all dressed in blue. The next to come was Lord Darnell's wife, the flower amongst the few. The flower amongst the few. And when the meeting it was over, she cast her eyes around. There she spied little Matty Grove as he rode through the town. As he rode through the town. Come home with me, Matty Grove. Come home with me tonight. Come home with me, Matty Grove, and sleep with me till light.
The absolutely fantastic singing of Jeannie Robertson there. I just want to take a couple of minutes to tell you about our Patreon. I said that quite excitedly, didn't I? I mean, I'm still excited. It's been a thing for a while. Patreon is a way for you, the listener, to help support the podcast. For a monthly subscription, we produce a myriad of bonus content, basically more episodes. We cover songs from elsewhere in the Roud Index, courtesy of a strand of mini-seasons called Singer's Choice. That's where I get one singer guest and they come on for 3 episodes and we cover 3 songs of their own choosing. Consequently, they are from anywhere in the Roud Index, rather than in the low hundreds where we currently are now. Well, not even in the low hundreds, in the sort of the mid-tens. Anyway, we've had a mini-season so far with people like Nancy Kerr and John Doran and Jess Arrowsmith and many more. We also produce episodes looking at other aspects of folk songs and folk song collecting in the form of spotlight episodes. These episodes looking at song collectors, traditional singers and others, and last week we had our second ever region spotlight episode with returning podcast guest Andy Turner giving us a look at the subject of song collecting in Kent. If you feel so moved to support the podcast financially, then please do head on over to patreon.com/intheroud and you can sign up for either £5 or £10 per month and receive regular bonus content. This week's Patreon episode, which comes out tomorrow, Thursday the 5th of March, is the beginning of a brand new Singer's Choice mini-season. For 3 episodes, I'll be joined by singer Kathy Tattersfield for songs chosen by her, and for this episode we'll be looking at Roud number 13,309, which is a song called The Fiddle, or As Jockey on One Summer's Morn. Sign up to hear this and more at patreon.com/intheroud. And now on to the second half of this episode. To chat more about the Ballad of Little Musgrave and other things too, I was joined for this episode by legendary ballad singer Frankie Armstrong. Well, hello and a big welcome to In the Roud, Frankie Armstrong. Hello.
Hello, Matt. Thanks for
Hi.
having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure already. Lovely to have you here. How are you? How's things?
Um, Up and down, shall we say? I think, like the world in general, it's
Yes.
difficult to come down on one side or the other. We're all living on a knife edge or a seesaw, I think, at present. But thank heavens for music and song, is all I can say.
Absolutely. Yes, I quite agree. Yes, it's all, yeah. Life throws a lot of things at you, and you just have to attempt to keep afloat, I guess. I've been going through lots of. No one wants to hear my tale of woe. I've been going through lots of stuff with my car recently, lots of car trouble, and all sorts of other things. But in general, I'm okay. But
Good,
it's,
good.
you know, oh dear, oh dear. Well, it's lovely to have you here. Yeah, we only, where are we now? With the end of February of. In fact, this episode goes out on the 4th of March. So hello everyone on the 4th of March. We're recording this the week previously, so it's the end of February. And yeah, it's I was astonished that you and I hadn't met before, or at least until last summer at Sidmouth Folk Festival, when we finally met. It seems like a long time coming.
Yes. That's such a lovely festival. So,
It's great,
yeah,
isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, that was lovely meeting you there. And you were hosting some of the evening concerts that I was involved in.
Oh yes, the traditional night out events at the Arts Centre at
That's
Sidmouth. Yes, that's normally my dad and a guy called Mike Betterson hosting them, but Dad was not feeling very well and other things, and didn't attend Sidmouth, and so as well as all my other duties at Sidmouth, I stepped in and emceed a lot of those trad nights. And yes, we had you on for a couple, I think maybe. I think it was
three of them, I think.
three. Wow, there we go. I'm pretty sure you sang this song.
I'm pretty sure I did.
Yes, I mean it was last August, but
Yes.
I know you sang some epic ballads, and I'm pretty sure this is one of them, which was one of and consequently, yes, I'm pretty sure that's why I thought let's get Frankie on for this song. When it comes to the podcast, there was a couple of songs in this season that you could have done, but I think we went with this one in the end. Before we get into talking about Little Musgrave, the ballad itself, give us a bit of Frankie Armstrong history and sort of I don't know, how you came to folk music, or did folk music find you?
Well, we go back to 1957. I'm jiving with the head of a skiffle group who I'd seen at a youth club the week before, and he came and asked me to jive to Mick Mulligan's jazz band. This is in a little market town in Hertfordshire, but we did have the occasional hot evening, and I said to Mac Jones, I loved your skiffle group. I heard you at so and so, and he said, "Oh, maybe you can help. We're looking for a girl singer. Do you know one?" And I just said, "Me." There wasn't a moment's hesitation. Me being a girl singer in a skiffle group with four lads, well, they were in their late teens, even early 20s by then. And we all know skiffle morphed into the British folk song revival. We became the Ceilidh Singers. I met Lou Killen, who helped me do a lot of listening to what the nature of traditional song, how do people sing traditional songs, that may be different from other forms of and genres of singing. And because I was working part-time, I travelled with Louis and we sang together at folk clubs that he was appearing at, because at that point, Ewan got called God and Louis got called Son of God. So there I was, travelling and singing with the Son of God. I mean, he was a wonderful singer and, had so much impact on how I've learned about the nature of folk song and context. And so that was pretty magic. And then it was Lou that suggested I join Ewan and Peggy in the critics group that had just formed the year before. So then the rest is history of that. But therefore got the chance to. Oh, and of course Bert Lloyd was actually one of the absolute key people as a mentor of mine as well. I met him again through going to a folk festival that both he and Louis were booked at. And Louis was staying up north, and I came back on the train with Bert. So I had Bert for about 3 hours in a railway carriage to myself. Now, can you do better than that when you're, 21, 20, no, I was about 23, I think, at that point. And so, and I just loved Bert. And then I got very excited when he brought out folk music of Bulgaria and Albania and Romania.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah.
So in a funny way, I've been doing voice workshops for 50 years now, exploring voice. What can your voice do? Expand your voice, free your voice. And in a way, that all started with me listening to Bert's albums, and he invited me to his house, so I listened to quite a lot of his field recordings.
Wow.
And he sent me songs. He'd send me cassettes with songs on, saying, Frankie, I think this song would suit you. So I owe an immense amount both to Bert and to Ewan and Peggy and Louis and so many people that have supported and helped. But it was, I guess, Bert that really, and Ewan and Peggy. I mean, ballads became, I just thought these are an absolutely astonishing miniature art form and fell in love with those, again, around that time. And then, somewhere that Louis and I were singing together. And I should say Louise and I, but, presumably people know that he did become Louise in his last years or two.
That's right, yeah.
And, and we were singing somewhere, and the organiser of the club came, Paul Snow, who sadly died a couple of years ago. He came up to me and said, Frankie, would you come up and be a guest? And what's your fee? What's my fee? I mean, in the Cayley Singers, we might get expenses and a sandwich or something, but, the idea of a fee. So I halved Louis' fee. That was my start in about 1963-64 as a professional singer, i.e. people were willing to pay me to go and sing the songs I loved to them. So that was how I started, an individual folk song career. And I went in and out of working as a social worker. I got trained as a social worker and then did youth work and training and so singing, and then later from 1975 onwards, running, singing and voice freeing workshops became my main activity, as it were. So that kind of takes me up to my current more elderly place, but I still have a passion for the folk songs and the traditional songs and the history they unfold for us. So again, what you're doing and what Traditional Song Forum and various people are doing is really interesting, and seems to have there seems to really be quite a revival. Call it third revival, I've no idea. But it's exciting.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I was talking to a few people about song, sort of the research side of the folk scene that a few of us are involved in, and it's just tricky because it's not. I mean, you can get paid to sing and do a gig, and thing, but there's no money in research, in sort of folk song research.
No.
Which is why you don't get many people under retirement age doing song research, I suppose. Because you have to spend all of your time doing things that pay the bills.
Yeah, which it's a great shame, but I still, I guess I still think the actual sung songs, when is a ballad not a ballad when it's not sung, like the Ettrick Shepherd's Mother. So it's to keep the songs alive so that the research is then relevant to something that's a living, growing, continuing thread. If
absolutely.
we stop singing the songs, it would be a bit dry, wouldn't it, just to have the research without.
Well, absolutely. And then actually, we're in season 6 now, but I have covered some songs already on the podcast that haven't been sung since 1800 or something. These child ballads that no one's. I mean, there are 305 ballads in Child Collection, and surprisingly, or maybe unsurprisingly, not all of them have been sung on the folk revival, as we call it. And
some of them not very interesting, let's face it.
Yes, and even I, with my extreme sort of nerd hat on, find it quite a trial to sort of pour through 35 Robin Hood ballads.
Yes.
It's quite tough going.
John Kirkpatrick has revived a few, and really made them sound exciting and interesting, but then he could make a telephone directory. So.
Indeed so. Yeah, but we haven't covered any Robin Hood ballads yet, although by the end of the year we'll have covered 3, I think. By the end of this year, I think it's this year. It might be next year. I'll have to check my schedule. But we've covered 2 or 3, maybe even 4 or 5 songs so far on the podcast from the Child Ballad Collection that have never been sung, in the current folk revival or since the 60s or whatever. Or even there's no field recordings of them either. They just haven't been sung since whenever. And actually, by doing the research with whoever I get on to do that episode, normally it's a friend of mine called Helen Lindley. She's been on a few times. One of her focuses is creating new settings of child ballads that no one's ever sung. And so by doing the podcast episode and consequently getting her to sing the song at the end, we're forcing some of these songs to actually be sung again.
Come back to life.
Yeah, so we're effectively rebirthing some of these old ballads that no one's ever sung, as well as, just presenting other versions of these songs that do get sung. So it's the podcast is a way for it to work both ways, I think, because as you say, the research and stuff only works really if the song is sung, and by doing the podcast, we're forcing some of these songs to be sung again.
Yes,
which is
thanks all round.
Unexpected. Oh, thank you very much. It's quite an unexpected thing. I wasn't really prepared for that, but it's happening anyway, which is nice. And yeah, I'm very pleased that we had 2 or 3 seasons ago. We had Nancy Kerr on for the episode on it's Roud 22, but I can't remember what the child number is. But it's the song Gil Brenton, which has basically never been sung apart from Nancy Kerr, because James Fagan and Sam Hindley have this weekly radio show in Sheffield on Sheffield Live called Thank Goodness It's Folk, and they have a project called Friday's Child, and they're basically going through the child ballads and every week getting someone in to sing the next child ballad.
Yeah, I did The Cruel Mother on that series.
Oh, there you go. You did that one. And so when it came to Gil Brenton, I think it's Child 5 or something. When it came to Gil Brenton, no one had done it. And so James just asked Nancy if she'd just quickly work something up. And she sang it for the show. Consequently, she's the only person who's ever sung it. And therefore, she was the only person who could be a guest on the podcast. And she sang it again. And then, since then, her band, the Magpie Ark, have released a version of it on their new album. It's the title track of their album, came out last month. And it's a 13-minute heavy rock version, which is absolutely glorious. But consequently, that is the only recording or setting of Gil Brenton since, let's say, the Child Ballads were printed. Which is fabulous. I'm very pleased and honoured to be a part of that process.
Yes.
Because I remember Nancy, when we recorded that, Nancy said, "Watch this space. There'll be an officially recorded version in a year or so," and so of a song that no one's sung since the 1800s. It was very exciting. However, this week's song is not a song that no one has sung since the 1800s. It is a very, very popular child ballad. We've heard the history earlier on from David Atkinson of child ballad number 81, Roud 52. Little Musgrave. So where does this song start for you? Do you have a memory of first coming across this song, or is it one that's kind of always been around?
Well, it is so long ago. I must have heard it in the 1960s.
Right.
But I have to say, it's gone in. I'm sure I loved it, whoever it was singing it. I don't have a clear recollection like I can for some ballads.
Sure.
But then when I heard this young friend of mine, Jeff Lowe, sing this version, which I'm pretty sure he had written the tune for. I mean, we didn't have ease of getting into Bronson back in those days. So, and I just loved his singing of that. So I asked him, it's him the first solo recording I did was Lovely on the Water in 1972, I think. And Jeff is accompanying me on quite a number of those. And then I know he moved away. And I'm pretty sure the next time I met him, he sang this to me. He sang this version of Little Musgrave. And I just fell in love with it, and I'm still in love with it. And I mean, I have to say that the reason that, my favourite ballads are things like the Demon Lover and Child Waters and The Cruel Mother, and, is because I just think they are absolute fabulous. I couldn't not sing them, even though everybody else is singing them too. And that's fine. Why not? The more versions and interpretations, the better. There's never one interpretation of any of these songs.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So, so that's my recollection. Okay. And then I put it on my next album, or was it the next one after that? I can't remember whether it was Songs and Ballads or...
I can check... I think it... Hang on a minute, 1 second. No, of course. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Songs and Ballads. It's on 1975.
With my Californian friend, Susie Rothfield, I think, accompanying me on that. But it works every bit as well, accompanied or unaccompanied, I think. It's just a story that speaks to my heart. And, given that I was a social worker for a long time, I'm always just intrigued and listening for what's going on, why has this happened? Because you never get the whole story in a ballad. That's part of its excitement and stimulus. that you've got to work out the backstory and what's been going on with people, that their behaviour, which is what the ballads are mostly dealing with, action.
Yeah.
You know, what is the action telling you about the state of mind, the intention, the what's gone before, and you're always, you know, what may go afterwards. So this is just endlessly fascinating. And then, you know, this one isn't. This is quite kind of, you could almost call it social realism, because clearly the ballad happens because she is got married to Lord Barnard, almost certainly not being in love with him, because after all, women were just pawns. We were just wealthy women, not poor or ordinary women, but, you know, wealthier, from women from wealthier families, were simply used as sale or barter or exchange for property, power, influence.
Yeah.
So, you know, so many of the ballads do depend on gender issues, which, as somebody who's been involved in the feminist movement since the early 1970s, you know, it's just written through so many ballads about the way women were seen and effectively abused. So
Indeed, we had that quite a lot last season of the podcast, because it was a strangely depressing few weeks because in terms of songs, because we went through Fair Annie, Child Waters, Fair Janet, and Lady Masery all in a row, and,
yeah,
and that was a bit heavy.
that yes. You need no persuasion as to how women were seen and treated if you listen to those ballads.
But then obviously there was no rhyme or reason to the way Steve Roud numbered these ballads. He was just picking songs almost at random, but also, you know, and then we had some great guests on for those episodes who really were able to dive into those discussions really well. We had Judy Cook for Child Waters, Peggy Seeger for Fair Janet, and the band Lady Masery for the ballad Lady Masery.
That's the Lady Masery. Oh,
and
yes.
but, you know, it sparked some really, really fascinating conversations about all that sort of thing. And I remember, all this sort of awful treatment of women. I remember Judy Cook saying that although, the woman in that one is treated really badly, Judy's always looked upon that ballad as being about a really strong woman, because she's endured all of this and she's still all right. She's come out the other end.
Yeah,
and
even if she doesn't come out the other end, I mean, like Lady Diamond, she dies, and that's not uncommon, but it still means she's been defiant.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't mean you're going to win. In the pile of power that you're at the bottom of. But I still think, a lot of the ballads, even the tragic ballads, tell you about women's power and defiance. And after all, in Little Musgrave, it's her passion. It's her passion that overrides her willingness to acknowledge, oh, yes, that might be my husband coming back. That might be his horn. Skedaddle, Little Musgrave.
Yeah.
That's not exactly a suitable term, but but it is her agency that actually brings about the tragedy. So there's no simple answers to all this, and I think what's interesting too in this particular version that I do is that the narrator steps outside for a minute and stops the action, which is either the verses, which are either dialogue or action, to condemn the little foot page. So you then know that the narrator is on the side of Lady Barnard.
Right, of course.
Which does give you a slightly different twist to how you sing it. But I think what's so extra powerful is that by the end of the ballad, you're sorry for Lord Barnard too. I mean, he tried to do the decent thing, and it was too late. So it's just such a complex. It's like a whole long novel. It's a Lady Bovary of ballads. For just in however many verses they have. I'll never tire of it, because it brings these circumstances and these people so to life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, there's almost no way that this song can be short. Is it? There's too much going on.
Yeah, there are shorter versions but they still somehow maintain, the essence of the story. Even, ballads can stand being, expanded and contracted, and as long as they keep their essence.
Absolutely, yes. I've just noted that, Nick Jones sang one that was 28 verses, I think, which sounds about average, possibly, for some of the child ballads.
Mine's shorter than that, but it's not short.
No, absolutely not. But there are some in the child ballads that are significantly longer than that. I'm sure there's at least a couple of versions of this one we talked about earlier with David that are longer than 30 verses. There are definitely some ballads in there that are in the 40s and 50s in terms of number of verses, but that's when the editing tool comes into play.
Yeah,
I guess. So the version that you sing, where did that one come from for you?
Now, because I haven't had a chance to check it out, I think it's Motherwell is my recollection. I think Bert has a note on the songs and ballads.
Oh yeah, A.L. Lloyd did the sleeve notes, didn't he?
Yes, for songs.
Let me check. It's all here on Mainly Norfolk. The sleeve notes, the bit on the sleeve notes. Always give a big shout out to Reinhard, who runs Mainly Norfolk. Hello, he listens to this. Hello to you, sir. He wrote, the words of this version are substantially those obtained by William Motherwell from the recitation of Mrs. McConaughey. Is that how you pronounce that?
Yes, I think so.
McConaughey from Kilmarnock at the start of the 19th century. And so, from the Motherwell manuscript. And so that'll be one of the ones that's in the child collection then, won't it? I imagine.
Yes.
And I've just, by the power of editing, I've just jumped off my chair, grabbed my copy of Child off the shelf, and here we are back again. And I've just opened it on volume 2 of Child, and version G in Child is Motherwell's manuscript from the recitation of Miss McConaughey from Kilmarnock. And, I don't know if 32 verses
yes,
originally. So this is my next question. Have you, might answer the question, have you done some editing yourself?
I think I must have done.
Must have done.
To say this is all, I started singing this, I think, in the late 60s or early 70s.
Sure.
And whilst my memory for some things is actually excellent, for other things have gone down a rabbit hole.
That's quite all right. But yeah, so obviously, yes, the bit of editing probably been done, and also it's in sort of Scots English, if you want to call it that. So I imagine you've.
I've anglicised it, yeah.
You've anglicised it, yeah.
I mean, I feel I'm kind of, I can pinch these wonderful Scottish ballads and anglicise them some, because an Armstrong is a border name. It's from the debatable lands on the border. And Baxter, my mother's name, is a Scottish name too. So I have definitely Scottish ancestry.
Well, there we go. There's a child ballad we'll come to in about November, in the middle of season 8, called Johnny Armstrong.
Armstrong, I was going to say, yes, that's well, we were known as border reivers. We were not nice.
Yes, quite so. But
And that ballad definitely has, a not nice Armstrong on it.
no, indeed, we'll come to that towards the end of this year. Yeah, there's always I don't suppose there's a debate about it, but I always found an interesting discussion about whether to anglicise them or with these old Scots ballads or not. Because I tend to I have no Scottish in me at all, as my surname would suggest. I'm not Scottish ancestry, but I tend to anglicise Scots songs when I sing them purely because it would just sound stupid coming out of my mouth if I sang I will gang a war to the whatever. It just sounds ridiculous.
No, I mean, I agree. I think there are ways you can do it. And, because songs and ballads have always travelled across borders,
Yeah.
it means that over time they'd lose, the specific dialect or vernacular, and change vernaculars. It's not doing anything that's immoral, as it were.
No.
And I think, on the odd occasion, I'll keep the word E for I because it rhymes and everybody knows what it means.
Quite so. I've got a couple of Scots on the thing where I've kept a particular word because the English translation doesn't work within the kind of scansion or the mood of the piece. So.
Yeah. So snap.
Yeah. In fact, straight away, it's in this one in Motherwell, the Mrs. McConaughey's one. It's still Lord Barnard, but it's wee Musgrave, MESS Grove.
Oh.
And so that automatically that's changed to Musgrave or whichever one you want to do.
Yeah, there's plenty to choose from.
Plenty of variations, but we obviously we've changed that to little. It's it's just fascinating if you're interested in this sort of thing. I know not a lot of people are, but or maybe a lot of people are now, but it's definitely it's a level of interest that you really have to dive into with both feet.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the word I hear through this ballad is compassion.
Right.
For all the tragedy, and I guess that comes about because of that strange stepping sideways to say, and woe be to that little foot page, and ill death may he die. I mean, that's not very compassionate, but
no.
but there is this sense that everybody's caught. Well, the three main protagonists, Lord and Lady Barnard and Little Musgrave, are caught in this trap that in a sense just came about because either in the church or the different versions, the two of them eyed each other and fell for each other clearly. And there must have been many occasions like that when people didn't actually have a chance to talk because particularly the wealthier people were chaperoned all the time. And, so that process of kind of falling for somebody, even, maybe seeing them in church every week for months or even years and not having an opportunity to actually meet up. I mean, there's, as I say, it's so, you could write a whole novel. Maybe that's...
Yeah. Well, this is a subject we'll actually mention next week, briefly. Next week, with the ballad Gil Morris.
Oh, that's incredible. I
know. Looking forward to that one. History, so there's a spoiler alert for next week in terms of who we got on it. Sandra Kerr has done the history side of that one. And we talked about that a bit because this is weird. I've already recorded that half of the episode before we do this one. So I already know what's coming up. But there was a play done of at some point in the 1800s, I think, based on some of the song Gil Morris. And I mentioned that there's a song coming up in a few seasons' time, the Mill of Tifty's Annie, Andrew Lammy, another hefty song.
Another one I love.
It's so good. But they're, that Amanda McLean, who has been on the podcast before, has written a novel that is that she's turned that song into a novel called The Flax Flower. And I've got it on my shelf, and I promised Amanda that I'll read it when we get to that episode of the podcast in about a year and a half's time. But yeah, so there is, I'm surprised someone hasn't. I mean, maybe someone has, but it's because there's things like that, and next week I'll also mention that there's a film version of Tam Lin as well with Ian McShane and somebody from the 70s, I think. And it's
Ava Gardner.
Ava Gardner, that's right, yeah. And so there is scope for some of these ballads being turned into other art forms, and I'm surprised it hasn't been done as often as we would hope.
And Leon took Tam Lin, which he heard me sing hundreds of times over the years we sang together, but he did a children's book based on Tam Lin.
Oh, is this Leon Russellson?
Yeah, very broadly. It wasn't just simple retelling. And there's, except I've forgotten his name, The Owl Service. Who wrote The Owl Service?
Oh,
that
too I can't remember. I've seen the TV series, but I've not read the original.
Yeah, again, Tam Lin is hovering around The Owl Service, I'm told.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm surprised that nothing's been done with Little Musgrave, or maybe it has, and I'm a bit oblivious. If anyone has, write in and let us know, because it's definitely got scope for a visual medium. So many of these ballads have that kind of scope. Last season, when we did Sir Patrick Spens, James Fagin was the guest for that. But when they covered that on the Friday's Child on Thank Goodness It's Folk, he got June Tabor in, and she talked about the cinematic quality of Sir Patrick Spens.
Yeah.
There's so much scope for for a visual medium of this stuff.
I am going to jump sideways because my mum was an artist.
Oh, yeah.
And I spent most of my childhood and youth drawing and painting. That's what I was sure I was going to be. Obviously, life had other plans, with my sight starting to fail in my teens. But, one of the things that's very clear to me is that nearly all my repertoire is very visual. I choose songs, be they contemporary or, from the, whichever era, but ballads in particular, that cinematic, absolutely, very visual. And I remember, I'm talking to a number of passionate ballad singers, Chris Coe being one.
Oh, yeah.
Who, again, drew and had such strong visual connections to ballads. I remember us talking about The Wife of Usher's Well.
Oh, wow, another hefty one.
And so I think it's not that surprising that some of us who are indeed very visual, regardless of how much we can see, but who really do visualize the characters, the situations, the scenery of the songs.
Yeah, so just going back briefly to that version in Char, the version G, if anyone's reading along. Because that one ends. It's a bit sort of not hopeful. That's the wrong word. Basically, it ends with the line about where he kills himself. Would this be Lord Barnard? I suppose.
Yeah. Yes.
He leant the halbert on the ground, the point of it to his breast, saying, "Here are 3 souls gone to heaven. I hope they'll all get rest."
Yeah, I've used a slightly different version of that, but essentially I've just anglicised it. He set the sword against the wall, the point against his breast, crying, "Here is the end of 3 true loves. I hope they all find rest."
Oh, okay.
So which I must have got from another version. And
Yeah, so it's sort of variations on a theme, isn't it? It's the same kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah, let's move on to our final section, as we always do. Recommended listening, certainly on the non-trad side, on the sort of the folk revival side. Are there any particular versions sung by other people that you are particularly keen on? Because I know that before we started recording, you
I
mentioned
mentioned him. Yeah,
Cohen Braithwaite Kilcoyne.
Kilcoyne, that was the bit I missed.
That's right, because he's got one. Because he did a whole album. In fact, we talked about this a lot. Not this song, but Cohen was on the podcast back in season 3 for the episode on the Outlandish Night, and because that's on this same album as well. Cohen did an album of English folk song in the Caribbean and Black America. An album
Yeah,
called
I'll definitely. Well, we're going to go and see him next month, Newport Folk Festival. So I'll definitely get his albums.
there we go.
I still like, the thing in my hand.
Absolutely, all hail physical media.
Yes.
Yeah, but that album's called Play Up the Music. Came out in 2024. And so, yeah, Cohen's one in there. Sleeve notes again, courtesy of mainly Norfolk. For my copy of the CD is in my parents' house. My parents and I share physical media. That way we're not duplicating anything and taking up too much room. But Cohen, that copy of the album is 220 miles from my house. But the sleeve notes, courtesy of mainly Norfolk, says that Cohen wrote, in 1924, Martha Beckwith penned an article titled The English Ballad in Jamaica, which included 3 versions of Little Musgrave. The melody sung here comes from Beckwith's 3rd version. While this version had a stunning melody, it features only 2 verses. The 2 other versions in Beckwith's article were taken down from William Forbes of Dry River near Magotty, who recited and sang the song. To pad out my version, I've used some verses and prose from Forbes, along with a few lines from other English variants. And so that's a bit of a mishmash of variants, but starts off as one of the versions from the Caribbean, Black America.
Yeah.
And Cohen did a whole album, and most of his live shows are the songs from that, and it's just incredible. That album is a phenomenal piece of work and a phenomenal project, and absolutely brilliant. And on there is Little Musgrave, which is great to hear. Definitely basically a version that we would never have heard over here. It's completely completely out of the way. Yeah. And then I know that you're rather partial to Martin Simpson. Martin,
I surely am.
Yeah.
Can do no wrong.
Indeed, I saw him only last week at a gig. But Martin Simpson has recorded it. Yeah, it was back in 2007 on the album Prodigal Son. Is effectively the Nick Jones one, but without him going back and listening to Nick Jones. His sleeve notes say, this is some of the discussion we've had and other people have had with as well. When learning a version of a big ballad, there are often many choices to be made. There may be several recorded versions that you like, or a great tune with a dubious text, or vice versa, or no tune and little text, or you might have to write or rebuild and collate. In the case of Little Musgrave, I have spent several years reading, listening, and considering, when one day I remembered Nick Jones's version on his first album, Ballads and Songs. I didn't go back and listen, I just started to play. And so, there's Martin's one is effectively just him remembering Nick Jones's one and seeing where it goes from there. Which takes us neatly on to Nick Jones, actually. Yeah, Nick Jones, that's his album called Ballads and Songs. Isn't that the same title as the album it was on with you?
Mine was Songs and Ballads.
Oh, there we go. Songs and Ballads. I do beg your pardon. It's a completely different album. But there we go. I mean, I'll have to make an album called Songs, Ballads and, or something. We'll try and get all the variants in there. But that's Nick Jones's debut album. I mean, we spoke about this at length with James Fagan when we did Sir Patrick Spens, because it's Nick Jones's debut album, Ballads and Songs from 1970, and the album starts with Sir Patrick Spens. It's a bold opening for a debut album by someone who became the absolute master of this kind of thing, you know. And then Little Musgrave ends the album as well.
Top
So
of tail. Wow.
it's impressive stuff. Yes, he said the bulk of his one is based on an American version called Little Matty Groves. And that's Matty Groves turns up a lot. That's mostly an American variant, isn't it? I think. And we also have Martin Carthy's version is quite well known, highly thought of. There's the duo album with Dave Swarbrick he made in 1969 called Prince Heathen, and in the middle of side 2 on the LP is Little Musgrave and Lady Barnard, but Martin singing it unaccompanied for 9.5 minutes. That's my kind of thing. 10 minutes of unaccompanied ballad. But all he says is the story speaks for itself and really needs nothing written about it. Well, I beg to differ when it comes to the podcast. If that's the attitude we're going to take for all songs, speaks for itself and don't need to talk about it. But he has got an epic length version, 9.5 minutes, including Bucklesford Berry, which I mentioned earlier with David.
Yes, that's right. That got mentioned with David. And, yeah.
It just reminds me of J.R.R. Tolkien and Lord of the Rings. There's a couple of places in Hobbiton that have a name similar to Bucklesford Berry. It reminded me of that. Whether there's any link to that or not, properly, I know not. But yeah, 1969 Carthy Swarbrick Prince Heathen album, but it's just Martin singing unaccompanied, which he is very good at. Fairport Convention did Matty Groves. They did it's on their 1969 album, same year as Carthy singing it on Prince Heathen. 1969 on Fairport Convention's album Liege and Leaf. It's there, and that's with Sandy Denny singing it and the band. And then you've also got a recording of Fairport doing it on their album House Full, which is the live album version of the album Full House. And so you've got a live performance of it as well. And there's quite a lot of releases of Fairport that Matty Groves turns up on. But the one I'm familiar with is Legion Leaf and the live album House Full as well. And I just want to bring up one more. There's a version on an album by Planxty, a fantastic Irish band, Planxty. And the album being, the band being Christy Moore, Liam O'Flynn, Andy Irvine, and Donal Lunny. And their 1980 LP called The Woman I Loved So Well. And Little Musgrave ends the album. It rounds that album out as well. And their version lasts 11.5 minutes. But they've got instruments and all sorts of things as well. And Christy Moore sang it. That's right. And he said, I was first drawn to this song by its length. The first verse appealed to me because I too went to mass to look at girls. Thank you, Christy.
I'm sure he's not the only one. It was Choir Boys for me.
Was it? Oh, well, there we go. And he also said, I collected it in a book which had no music, but I was lucky to collect a tune from a Nick Jones album discovered on a field trip through Liam O'Flynn's flat. Very good. So the melody that Christy Moore sang with Planxty is the Nick Jones one, but he found the words in a book, the book which he does not divulge the name of. But yeah, the Planxty one, I haven't actually got that album, The Woman Loved So Well, but there's an album from 2004, Planxty, called Live, and that's a new live album from 2004, a kind of reunion album, and it's sung there as well. And Christy Moore's singing is always phenomenal and well worth hearing. But there we go. There's a few to mention. I will put those in the show notes of the where people listen to podcasts. If you go into the episode description, I'll put some links in there to where you can hear those. And we'll round things out there, I think. It's been lovely to have you on. It's been really interesting to hear your thoughts on all of this. So thanks very much.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Matt.
Good. I'm glad, and I'm glad you had a good time. And yes, it'll be lovely to have you back at some point. We've got lots of hefty ballads coming up, so we'll see how we go with what child ballads are coming up. But basically, this is the beginning of season 6, and it's going to be 95% child ballads for another 2.5 years, I think. Maybe 1.5 years, I'm not sure. It's a long time. It's a few more seasons before we get a stretch of Roud numbers that aren't child ballads.
Wow.
I know.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, but it'll be hefty stuff, but we'll get through it. We'll all get through it together. Sure. But until then, until we see you again, Frankie Armstrong, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Lord Barnard is a-hunting gone to hunt the fallow deer. His vassals, they have gone with him, his company to bear. His lady wrote a long letter and sealed it with her hand and sent it off to little Musgrave to come at her command. And when he's looked the letter on, a frightened man was he. Oh, if Lord Barnard came to know, high hanged I should be. But when he came to Barnard's hall, he pulled all at the ring. There's none so ready as the lady herself to rise and let him in. You're welcome, welcome, Musgrave dear, you're welcome here to me. For long have I loved your bonny face, and I think you've long loved me. Lord Barnard is a-hunting gone, I hope he'll never return. And you can lie between his sheets and keep his lady warm. It cannot be, Musgrave said, I fear it cannot be. For if Lord Barnard came to know, high hanged I should be. You nothing have to fear, Musgrave, you nothing have to fear. I've set my page without the gate to wait till morning clear. But woe be to that little foot page, and ill death may he die, for he's away to the merry green wood as fast as he can fly. And when he's come to the merry green wood, 'twas dark as dark can be. He spied his master and his men asleep beneath the tree. Rise up, my master dear, rise up most speedily. Your wife's in bed with little Musgrave, rise up and speak to me. If this be true, you're telling me, a lord I'll make of thee. But if it chance to be a lie, high hanged you shall be. He's mounted on his milk-white steed and led the dappled grey. He rode till he came to his own castle wall an hour before the day. He put his bugle to his lips, blew strong loud blasts 3, crying, he that's abed with another man's wife, it's time that he should flee. And out and spoke the little Musgrave, a frightened man was he. It surely be Lord Barnard's horn, and I must quickly flee. Lie still, little Musgrave, and keep me from the cold. It's only me father's shepherd's horn sounding from the fold. And again Lord Barnard blew, he blew strong, loud, blast 3, crying, he that's at bed with another man's wife, it's time that he should flee. And out and spoke the little Musgrave, a frightened man was he. It surely be Lord Barnard's horn, and I must quickly flee. Lie still, my little Musgrave, and keep me from the cold. It's only my father's shepherd's horn, sounding from the fold. And again Lord Barnard blew, till he was quite weary, and he's flung down his bugle horn, and up the steps ran he. How do you like my blanket, sir? How do you like my sheets? And how do you like my fair lady that lies in your arms asleep? Right well do I like your blankets, sir, right well do I like your sheets, but better do I like your fair lady that lies in my arms asleep. Get up, Lord Barnard says, and all your clothes put on. It never shall be said in all England I slew a naked man. And here are 2 broadswords, he says, they cost me deep in purse, and you shall have the better of them, and I shall have the worse. The very first blow Lord Barnard struck, it wounded Musgrave sore. The second blow Lord Barnard struck, little Musgrave rose no more. How do you like his cheek, lady? How do you like his chin? And how do you like his fair body? Now there's no life within. Right well do I like his cheeks, right well do I like his chin. Better do I like his fair body than you and all your kin. He's taken his lady by the hand and led her down the hall, and he has cut it off her head and flung it against the wall. He laid his sword against the floor, the point against his breast, crying, here is the end of 3 true loves. I hope they'll all find rest.
That was Frankie Armstrong singing Little Musgrave. And that brings us to the end of this episode. What do you think about this song? What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to get in touch, feel free to drop me an email at intheroud@singyonder.co.uk, or visit the podcast on various social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Threads and Blue Sky. Just search for In the Roud, a folk song podcast. If you are enjoying the podcast, I would very much appreciate it if you would give us a little rating and review on wherever you get your podcasts. That really helps the podcast to reach a wider audience. Also, subscribe as well, that helps the numbers too. Thank you. In the Roud is a media partner of Veteran, the traditional music label. Although this week's song does not currently feature on any of their releases, you can find details of their extensive catalogue on their website, veteran.co.uk. One last huge thanks to this week's guests, David Atkinson and Frankie Armstrong. Join me next week for episode 3 of this season. We'll be looking at Roud 53, which is child ballad number 83. That's the song called Child Morris. My history guest will be Sandra Kerr, and my singer guest will be returning singer guest John Bowden. Until then, that's it from me. Stay safe, be well, and I'll see you next time in the Roud.